Hello and welcome everyone to the first ever episode of Battle of the Builds. I'm the _Twig, I like analysing game rules, and I have with me today DndUnoptimised.
Hey there, I'm DndUnoptimised. I think some of the stuff I do the most recently has been kind of like build analysis. So I do some sort of like damage and as well as control. I have a way to figure out how much control someone does. And then I do some builds that kind of optimize some less optimal things.
Yeah, I mean, you've got a really good video about thrown weapons. You've got some really interesting stuff about how you build damage baselines, actually. That's a great video. I'll put that one in the description for everyone.
Thanks.
So, in front of us we have a wheel, which has a bunch of build prompts. And I'm going to spin this wheel, and we're going to build it. Is there anything on this wheel that you're particularly looking for?
Yeah, I think Mario sounds like a really interesting build to make. Just the general idea of that.
Yeah. No, Mario is one that could be a lot of fun. Have you ever looked at the Xanathar's Falling on Creatures rules? Because
I was just thinking that. I'm like, how would I make Mario's jumping do this? And that's exactly what I thought of. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was it.
So, without further ado, let's have a spin of this wheel. Ooh, what's it going to be? It is a Druid Wizard only multiclass. Okay, this one's interesting. So those are two very, very different stat spreads. What are you thinking?
Yeah, so I think this was like the Dungeon Dudes had some videos on like multiclassing. I think they put Druid and Wizard as like the worst multiclass combo. I think that's what it was. Just because like their stats and their abilities are like so not mesh super well.
Right. Okay, that's interesting.
Could be totally misremembering. Maybe I'm wrong.
I mean, from just sort of a standing back, having not looked at it at all point, I feel like there's probably some stuff that you can do that's quite fun. I mean, the one that immediately comes to mind, because it's my favourite druid, is the Wildfire Druid. So that's probably what I'm going to look at first. You could probably also do some stuff with spores, maybe? Don't know.
I was wondering if I could do like a spores and a Bladesinger spore sort of thing.
Yeah, that'd
be interesting.
That could be good. Right, so, to explain the rules to both you and everyone who's watching, we're now going to go away and do two different builds. There's going to be a video on my channel, which has my build, and there's going to be a video on Unop's channel where he does his build. What we can put in these build is basically anything. As long as it's in an official D&D book, we can use it. We can do whatever the hell we want, although you guys are going to be deciding who has the better build. So if we do anything especially heinously cheesy, you guys are allowed to punish us for it.
What's cheesy? Like what are our bounds here?
Oh god, I don't know. There's some really horrendous stuff that you can do with Nistel's magic aura and summon greater demon or something like that, where you can technically clone yourself, and that I would be penalising me if I did that.
Okay.
Well, have fun. I'll see you in a bit. Before the build, I want to thank my Patreons. They've known about this challenge for a while now and were the first ones to see this build. I've also included a couple of small adjustments that they suggested, so thanks for the help with that too. SK in particular is a good boy who deserves head pats and belly rubs. Right, welcome back everyone. It's been a little while, we've gone away and made our builds, so I'm going to be presenting Big Anthony the Thri-kreen. This one, I actually made two builds for this challenge. One of them was a Stars Druid and a War Wizard, but it turned out to just kind of be a fairly normal wizard who just had really, really, really good concentration saves. I think that they auto-passed unless they hit a 36 damage. So I came up with this one who probably isn't as strong as that original build, but is a lot more fun, I think.
You can't go wrong with just not failing concentration saves. Wizard's just such a strong class.
You can't. but it was really kind of a dull build. It was just a really basic wizard.
Yeah, that's fair.
But yeah, Big Anthony. So Thri-kreen get some awesome racial features. They get this chameleon carapace here. It's basically permanent mage armor, and you can also use an action to give yourself camouflage, which gives you advantage on any stealth checks until you leave the surroundings. So if you're in a cave, you can use an action. When you enter the cave, you get advantage on hiding as long as you're in the cave. Until you leave, you just have advantage. If you're in a forest, you have advantage until you leave the forest. It's an awesome feature. Because of this, I reckon that we should probably pick up stealth as well, just in character creation. I'm not going to be looking at skills that much, but yeah.
Wow, I totally overlooked that feature. I just thought, 13 plus your dex and moved on. I didn't even realize that. That's awesome.
It's really, really strong.
It's just permanent, basically.
It's
no
effectively
matter where you go.
Permanent advantage on stealth. It's awesome.
Dang.
I'm also picking up Thri-kreen telepathy. So this is permanent 120 feet one-way telepathy. We don't need to share a language. So that is essentially any time we come across anything that can talk, we can just speak to it. We can't understand them back unless we know their language, but if we come across some devils or something and we want to tell them to stop doing whatever they're doing, we can just do that. They'll probably ignore us, but permanent telepathy.
It's always worked out for me.
Yeah. Permanent telepathy though. Excellent. The main feature that we're looking for on Thri-kreen though is of course secondary arms. This is a dual wielding build.
Okay.
So we're gonna be doing 2-weapon fighting, and we can also hold a shield, and we've also got another hand for doing other stuff.
Oh man. Nice. So I'm guessing Spirit Shroud might be coming online then, I guess. I don't know.
Maybe. You'll see. Our stats, main stat dexterity, then intelligence and wisdom I unfortunately had to put as 14 and 13. Our casting stats on this build are kind of terrible, so we're going to be focusing more on things like buff spells and utility spells, rather than any kind of control spells or damage spells. We will have a few of those in this build, but yeah, mainly looking at buffs and utility. So, level 1, we are starting out as a druid. This is almost entirely for proficiencies. I just want shields and I want scimitars, and druid gets both of them at level 1. We don't really care about much else that druid 1 gives us. Other than that, we get to pick up some spells, obviously. Guidance, Mold Earth are just sort of probably the best 2 utility cantrips the druid gets. And then Healing Word, obviously a fantastic healing spell. Fairy Fire and Protection from Evil and Good are our concentration options. Now, I said that I wasn't going to be looking for spells with saving throws. Fairy Fire obviously does, but it's such a good spell that I think it's worth taking anyway.
Yeah.
If we are in a situation where we're fighting undead or fiends or something though, then Protection from Evil and Good is probably the better spell to be using. I'm also picking up Speak with Animals just because I think it's a really nice, underrated spell, to be honest. Having the ability to just walk up to the village pig and say, "Who burnt down your barn?" it's lovely.
I guess you can always talk to them, but now you can understand them back.
Yeah. So the DPR on these builds, I should probably explain. So I am making my DPR based on the 4-turn average. So in this particular build, I'm going to be assuming that we're casting Fairy Fire at round 1, so that's going to be 0 in round 1, but then we're going to have advantage after that, so it's going to be slightly higher than 6.81 for all rounds after round 1. But in a 4-round combat, we average 6.81 per round.
Yeah, okay, I do something very similar, so that's good.
Yeah. I'm also, for the purposes of saving throws, which will come up later, I'm assuming that the saving throw bonus that enemies have is equal to our proficiency bonus. And for AC, I'm assuming that a character who starts with 16 and gets +2 at 4 and 8 will always have a 60% chance to hit.
This is that's Chipmunk stuff, I guess.
Yeah, it's basic Triad Monk stuff. Going on to level 2, we're going into Wizard, because I've got my proficiencies and I just want to speedrun a bit of Wizard stuff. So we get 3 cantrips. I've gone Mending, Minor Illusion, Shape Water. These are just, again, really good utility cantrips. Could go Mage Hand if we wanted, could go Prestidigitation if we wanted. Message, completely useless to us because we have Telepathy.
Fair.
Spells, we only have 3 preps, so I've gone Shield, Silvery Barbs as just sort of the standard reaction spells. I've also gone Disguise Self, because sometimes we don't want to look like a big insect guy.
I don't know why you would ever want that.
I don't know. I believe that Disguise Self does require you to have the same limbs, though, and we've got 4 arms, so we would have to turn into a guy with 4 arms, but we can probably just, fold 2 of them beneath our coat or whatever. Just to hide them. So it's probably not too much of an issue. For our preps, Find Familiar, Detect Magic, fairly standard, and then Comprehend Languages. So previously we could talk to the Fiend, we couldn't understand them, now we can understand the Fiend as well. We're essentially a perfect translator in this build. It's awesome.
Uhura.
Yeah. It's something that I don't think a lot of builds really take into account, the whole sometimes you need to talk to people and they don't know your language. This build just doesn't care about that at all. We have dropped into the red in our DPR. This is unfortunately fairly bad DPR, but we're only 2nd level, we're going to get past this fairly quickly. For the colour coding on this, by the way, red, bad, orange is sort of okay. Yellow is actually good. That is better than a crossbow expert fighter, but it's not quite as good as a crossbow expert fighter who has advantage. If we're green, we're in great territory, and then if we're in the white, then we're over 120% of the crossbow expert advantage average DPR. That's just excellent damage. And we do get to that at some points in this build, but right now we're not doing particularly well. Right, next level is level 3. We're going to Blade Singer. This is where we're going to be going up to 6th level Blade Singer, because I want extra attack, obviously. Training in War and Song gives us proficiency in Performance and 1 melee weapon of our choice. I'm going to pick the Rapier, which is not how you pronounce that, but I'm not doing it in the other way.
Okay.
That's not coming up right now, but it will in a bit. Because we've got that extra hand, there are some cases where we just pull out the Rapier for a little bit, attack with that, and then do other stuff. So that's just a nice thing to have. It's not super important, but we can do it. Okay. We also get Blade Song from the Blade Singer, and unfortunately this is the only level that we're going to be using Blade Song. It can't be used when you're using a shield, and it's also a bonus action, and this build has a lot of bonus actions that it wants to use, actually, so I figured that Blade Song just typically wasn't worth using. There's too much anti-synergy, unfortunately.
Oh wow, so I guess you just got decent enough AC, you just don't really care.
Yeah, I mean, we've got 13 plus dex AC just all the time, and we've always got a shield on. Right now, without Blade Song, we've got 18 AC. We have that straight from 1st level, and we're going to be boosting our dex later on, so it's going to go up further. It's Blade Song just typically isn't very useful on this build, to be honest.
Sounds good. I mean, you're going to have to you offhand attacking, so
yeah.
Makes sense.
For our spells here, we're going to take Absorb Elements as our 3rd reaction spell, and Unseen Servants, just a nice ritual to have. There's other rituals that we could take. We could take Alarm or something, but yeah, Unseen Servant, nice to have. Right, going up to 4th level, we get Cantrip Formulas here, and this just lets us, every long rest, we get to swap out one of our cantrips. So I'm going to be immediately swapping out Mending for Booming Blade, because at this level we unlock 2nd level spells, and we get Dragon's Breath. Do you know about Dragon's Breath?
I am familiar with it. Are you going to be using it on a familiar or something?
We're going to be using this on a familiar. For any of you who don't know about Dragon's Breath, this is an amazing spell. It basically gives you... It's a touch spell. I think it's got 1 minute concentration, and it's a bonus action cast. And for the duration, whatever you touch can, as an action, breathe fire or lightning or cold or a different element in a 15-foot cone, doing 3d6 on a dex save to anyone in that cone. Now we're going to be casting this on a familiar, who's going to be flying up and then using Dragon's Breath like going down. So rather than just looking at a 15-foot cone, we can actually look at a cone cross-section, which is ridiculously complicated in D&D just because of how cones work. They're really weird, but for the purposes of this, we can just say that it's a vaguely moldable 3x3 square.
Sounds fair.
I'm going to be assuming for the purposes of this build that we can get 2 enemies in our Dragon's Breath, and it's going to be used every single turn. Yeah?
Alright.
So, the other spells that we're getting here are Vortex Warp. This is a ridiculously useful utility spell. It just lets us reposition our allies.
Yeah, I think that's my favorite spell in the game.
Yeah, it's an awesome spell. And I'm going to be losing Disguise Self for it. We can bring back Disguise Self whenever we're going into a city, just in case we want it. Also, because we're no longer using Fairy Fire, I'm picking up Fog Cloud as a druid spell instead. Fog Cloud's just a nice escape spell. It's nice for blocking the line of sight. And it upcasts in a really cool way. Do you know how it upcasts?
No, I actually didn't even know there was an upcast option for it.
Every time you upcast it, the radius of Fog Cloud increases by, I think it's 20 feet. So if you upcast it...
That's big.
If you upcast it to 2nd level, it's a 40-foot radius cloud of fog. It just gets really, really big.
I did not know that. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's really cool. Right. We're also going to be on turn 1 using Dragon's Breath. So on turn 1 we're going to be attacking with the rapier instead of the scimitars, and then we're going to be stowing that turn 2 onwards to do other stuff. Attacking with our scimitars, doing 2-weapon fighting. Right, 5th level, we get our first feat. I'm picking up Resilient Con just to protect our concentration saves, and it's also useful for other constitution saving throws. We don't need Warcaster on this build just because we've got so many arms, so the somatic component thing just isn't useful to us. Booming Blade also scales at this level, so every turn we get an extra 1d8 if we're using Booming Blade, which I actually think that at this level specifically, I don't remember exactly my counts, but I think that Booming Blade with a rapier was actually better than 2-weapon fighting, which is interesting, I think.
I mean, Booming Blade's good. Are you assuming a certain proc rate?
I'm assuming it never procs. I'm assuming that we never get the secondary movement damage, and I'm actually assuming that there's quite a few things in this build that I pick up that could boost damage, and I just assume we don't get it ever. So
that's surprising to me that Booming Blade is better than 2-weapon there.
Yeah, I know.
With no proc.
We could, I guess, bring back Blade Song if we wanted to here. But I mean, that would be turn 2. It's just a bit of a weird one, I think. But yeah, I'm also going to be upcasting Dragon's Breath, and I'm actually going to be upcasting Dragon's Breath for this entire build. So eventually this is going to be a 9th level Dragon's Breath. It is that good. Like, it's an insanely powerful spell if you don't have any of the good sort of saving throw control options. This is just a ridiculously powerful spell, to be honest. Every single turn we're getting from this 4d6 on 2 creatures. That's great.
Yeah, and half on save. Super good.
Yeah, half on save.
Question. If they have a ranged attack, and they're seeing your familiar run around shooting fire all the time, and
yes.
What's the chance they shoot out of the sky, and what do you have? What's your thoughts
on
that?
So this is something that I was actually considering. I think that familiars are actually a lot easier to protect than quite often people think they are.
Okay.
You can have them. You can have like an open bag and then you just like dive into your back full cover is one common example. Something that I did actually consider on this build was instead of getting Disguise Self, getting Mage Armor. Because if you cast Mage Armor on a familiar, that's just flat +3 AC. And if you have, this is the only time you're ever going to see someone suggest this, if you have a Hawk as your familiar, that means that the Hawk has 16 AC, which is perfectly acceptable. Your familiar can also quite often just sort of fly upwards out of range of a lot of ranged attacks, which is another thing that people often forget. There's other stuff that we could be doing with our concentration if the familiar does go down. We can always protect you from evil and good people, and we're going to get some spells later on which are also good alternative concentration options. Spells here, we're 4th level wizards, so we get Mending back, and I'm also picking up Locate Object and Detect Thoughts. These are both just really nice utility options, and we can switch them out depending on which one we think is going to be more useful on the day. If we're going to be in a city, Detect Thoughts is probably more useful. If we're going to be in a dungeon or a wilderness location, then Locate Object is probably more useful. I actually have an entire video about Locate Object, which it's a fantastic spell. Really underrated.
I think I may have seen it, but I have to go watch it again.
Yeah, it's lovely. It's a really nice spell. Moving on to 6th level, we get 3rd level spells now, and I'm just going to be picking up Phantom Steed and Fly, just 2 nice mobility options. And we're going to have a lot of upcasting spell slots later on, and Fly upcasts really, really nicely. It's just another target for every upcast slot. So if we spend a 5th level slot on it, that's 3 people fly. Nice. And we are going to have those slots available later on, because we're multiclassing so much. Nothing else to say on 6th level, so quickly onto 7th level, we get extra attack, and this is Blade Singer extra attack, so we can use a cantrip as one of our attacks. This is normally going to be Booming Blade, but...
Obviously, True Strike.
Oh yeah, of course, True Strike, excellent. But there's a lot of other stuff that we could do as well if we just want a utility thing. So if we want to get out of sort of melee range or something, then instead of casting Booming Blade as our cantrip, we could cast either Minor Illusion or Mold Earth, and literally create a wall to block line of sight so they can't opportunity attack us. That's basically a disengage without using the disengage action. It's nice. Other stuff that we can do is I've picked up Blade Ward instead of Mending, using cantrip formulas. So we could attack and then give ourselves bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing resistance. Great. If we want to just sit in melee and not take as much damage. Spells here, I'm picking up Tiny Hut as just a nice out-of-combat ritual cast, makes resting safer. And I'm also picking up Dispel Magic. It's one of my favourite spells. I know a lot of people think that Counterspell is better, but I honestly just really, really dislike Counterspell. I think it's honestly almost busted, so I don't particularly like picking it up on builds. If you want to pick up Counterspell, then here's where you would do it.
You think it's too good to pick up?
I think it's too good to pick up, yeah. I don't like it. I actually ban it in my games.
Okay, and what do you think of the changes to the 1D&D then? Do you like those ones? Sorry, side topic.
The 1D&D changes. I think that the 1D&D counterspell is definitely better. When I've been playtesting it, I haven't felt the need to ban it. I don't like it as much as Dispel Magic still, and I actually give people the option to hold a Dispel Magic in my games and use it as a counterspell, but you need to be like holding the Dispel Magic.
Yeah.
And I think that I still like that ruling more than the 1D&D counterspell, but 1D&D counterspell is definitely a massive upgrade.
Okay, gotcha.
Right, moving on to 8th level. we're going back to Druid now. We've got our extra attack from Bladesinger, so going into the Spores Druid. This is, of course, essentially the melee Druid, which isn't a Moon Druid, because that's Moon Druid, and I don't particularly want to do that, but yes. Spores Druid. So this gives us a whole bunch of features. We get Wild Shape, and Wild Shape. Do you remember this thing? Chameleon Carapace?
Yep.
That works on anything that has a carapace. So anytime we turn into an insect, or a spider, or a crab, or a shellfish, or like anything like that, we can keep Chameleon Carapace and still have the 13 plus Dex AC and the advantage on stealth and all of that. So we're gonna be an amazing scout. We can just turn into a spider, have advantage on our stealth, run around, get all of the information. That's just lovely.
Wow. Okay. That's fun.
We also get our Wild Companion, which is essentially just Find Familiar. We already have that, it's not particularly useful to us. As a Spores Druid, we get 3 features. We get Circle Spells, which gives us stuff as we level up. Right now we get Chill Touch from it, which I'm probably never going to cast, to be honest, but it's nice to have. It's got a nice rider on it. We also get Halo of Spores, which is unfortunately not useful at all. It's essentially 1d4 damage as a reaction when someone comes close to us. I'd rather be using my reaction on these guys.
It's pretty sad.
Yeah. And then we get Symbiotic Entity. Now, what this says is we can use a Wild Shape to get 4 times Druid level in temp HP, and while we have those temp HP, all of our melee attacks do an extra d6 of damage. That's really, really strong, but right now we've only got 2 Druid levels, so it's only 8 temp HP, and we're an 8th level character. So it's probably going down immediately. And as such, I am not yet going to be including it in our damage calcs. I don't think that it is reasonable to be using that and assuming that it's just going to be up for the rest of the fight, so I'm not including it yet.
Okay, sounds fair.
Yeah. Spells, we get an extra prep because we're now a 2nd level druid, and I'm just picking up Goodberry.
Is Goodberry a concentration spell?
No, it's not. That should be in that column. Whoops. Thank you for spotting that.
Wait, I saw it and I was like, what magic is happening here?
No. No, sorry. I don't know why that was there. I've put it in the wrong column.
No worries.
Yes, Goodberry. This is essentially just sort of a sink for any spell slots that we have left over at the end of the day. They last for 24 hours, so if we get to the end of the day, we've got a 2nd level spell slot and 2 first levels left over, then that's just 21 points of healing that we just have for the next day. It's that's really, really useful.
Yeah, sounds good. Right,
9th level. Goodberry's going to be in the wrong column for the rest of this build, just sorry about that. So, from our circle spells, we now actually get some spells. We get Blindness, Deafness, and Gentle Repose. Gentle Repose I think I've seen come up twice ever. It's such a niche spell, it's ridiculous. Blindness and Deafness is actually quite good as non-concentration. You can just make someone blind for a minute, which is really, really good. Spell. Unfortunately, we have a DC of 13 on it, which, we're 9th level characters.
It's a con save, so
it's a con save.
Hard to get that, yeah.
I'm not going to be assuming we're using this very often. We also get the rest of the 2nd level spells though, so I'm just picking up Pass Without Trace. We're even better at stealth now. Nothing's ever going to spot us, at all. And I'm picking up Lesser Restoration just because it's nice to have. Dropping Protection from Evil and good for that.
Sounds good.
Right, 10th level. So we get Wild Shape, CR 1/2, and Swim Speeds. Again, we want to be choosing things with shells, so that's going to mean crabs, it's going to mean shellfish. There's not a lot of good shelled sea creatures that we can turn into, unfortunately, but having swim speed on wild shape is just nice to have, I guess.
Yeah.
For our ASI, I'm picking up Dex +1, Wiz +1. That's going to put us up to 18 Dex and 14 Wiz, which just bumps all of our saves. It bumps our AC, our initiative, our attack rolls, our DC. This is just all around good, I think. We also get another prep from that. So I'm going to be picking up Warding Wind and Detect Poison and Disease. Warding Wind kind of just shuts down ranged attackers. So if we get into an ambush where there's a load of archers on a cliff, we can just cast Warding Wind and suddenly it's not much of an issue. And all of our party can hide within the, I think it's a 10-foot aura that Warding Wind produces. And they just kind of can't be hit by the archers, which that's just a nice combat shutdown, to be honest. And then Detect Poison and Disease. This is a super underrated spell, I think, because you can cast this as a ritual, and it just tells you where any poisonous creatures are and what creature they are. So if we're in a dungeon and we think there's going to be some spiders, we can just ritual cast this, know that they're 3 rooms in, and that they're phase spiders.
I didn't know it went that deep into it. That's good.
Yeah, it's a really, really good spell. I'm not going to be holding on to this one for long, because, we get better stuff later on, but yeah, it's nice. I'm also picking Mending back up, because I'm 4th level druid, get another cantrip. Moving on to 11th level, I'm going to be immediately dropping Detect Poison and Disease and Sadly Speak with Animals, because I want Revivify and Plant Growth and Aura of Vitality. Revivify, fairly obvious. Plant Growth actually combos really well with Warding Wind. We can both stop them from sniping us and stop them from coming closer, which is great. And then Aura of Vitality is a really, really nice out-of-combat heal. If you lose a bunch of HP just all across your party, then you can cast Aura of Vitality at the end of combat and heal your party for 20d6, split basically as you please.
Isn't this, you can only do it a number of times equal to your wisdom mod though, or something, right?
No, it's just it's 2d6 every round for a minute.
They errated that.
You're probably thinking of Healing Spirit.
Oh, sorry. That's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah. Aura Vitality is almost as good as the pre-errata Healing Spirit, but it still works, which is nice.
Gotcha.
We also get Gaseous Form and Animate Dead for free from the Spores Druid. Gaseous Form, not especially useful when we can turn into an animal and just run away. And then Animate Dead, that is actually a really, really good spell. I'm assuming that we're not using it in this build, just because I don't want to calculate it in our damage calculations, which, by the way, are now above an advantage crossbow expert build. That's what this green means. Animate Dead would make it go even higher, and I cannot tell you how much I had to restrain myself from putting Animate Dead and Magic Stone on this build, but...
you would.
I love Magic Stone, it's such a good spell. Unfortunately, it's another bonus action, and we have too many bonus actions between the symbiotic entity and the dragon's breath and 2-weapon fighting and all of these things. I'm dropping.
Sorry,
ahead.
at what point is your symbiotic entity coming online and your damage?
Now, yes. I was going to talk about that in a bit, but I'll talk about it now if you want. Yes. So, as a Spores 5, we now have 20 temp HP. And I think that's enough to assume that it lasts for 2 of our 4 rounds. So I'm assuming that first round we're casting Dragon's Breath, first round we're casting Dragon's Breath, second round we're casting Symbiotic Entity, and then third and fourth round we're doing 2-weapon fighting.
Okay.
The Symbiotic Entity obviously won't add to our 4th round attacks though. So for these spells that I'm picking up, I'm dropping Detect Poison and Disease, we can always get it back if we want, and Speak with Animals, again, if we think it's going to be useful, like any of the rest of these prep spells, we can just get it back when we're in a social encounter stage.
Sorry, you said Symbiotic Entity is not going to count in the last round?
Yes, so Symbiotic Entity I am adding to my damage on rounds 2 and round 3 only.
Oh, because you're assuming that it runs out of hit points at that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm assuming it runs out of temp HP at the end of round 3.
Okay, sorry. I think I blanked out for that. Thanks.
Yeah. Right. 12th level. We're Spore 6 now, and I'm just picking Speak with Animals back up, just because I like it. Fungal Infestation.
I'm doing Speech with Animals here.
Oh yeah, I love Speak with Animals. Great. Fungal Infestation is a really nice Spores Druid feature that I'm assuming we're never using. What this does is every single time a humanoid or beast that is small or medium, I believe, dies within 10 feet of us, we can use a reaction to revive it as a zombie with 1 HP. We can do that whiz times per day, which is going to be twice, and it's just... That's lovely. It's a really nice feature. I'm assuming that we're never using it, but...
It's a really cool, flavorful feature. I've never seen
Yeah.
it in play, but it would be really fun to use it.
I mean, the fact that it's just a reaction as well, rather than, like, anything else, it's just good value.
Yeah, I mean, it's a reaction. Even if they die after 1 hit, then it's still soak up 1 attack with a reaction. It's not bad.
Yeah, absolutely. And because they're a zombie, they've got the... I don't remember what it's called, but they have that feature where they can make a Constitution saving throw.
Oh yeah, they're resilient.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, they can just stay up for multiple attacks, soak a load of damage if we want. Right, 13th level, Spore 7. We automatically get Confusion and Blight. Both of those are pretty mediocre spells, unfortunately. And then I'm going to be picking up Polymorph. Absolutely busted. Like, this is such a good spell. I'm assuming that we're never using it for these damage calculations, but there are so many use cases for Polymorph. And I'm also picking up Stone Shape. So Stone Shape is one of my, favourite spells in D&D, because it has a whole bunch of use cases. It's an action cast, instantaneous spell. You can just sort of mould a 5-foot cube of stone into basically whatever you want. You can use this to make yourself a bunker. You could even put a hinged door on it if you want. You can, if you want to break into a building, you can just put a door on the wall. If you're running away from the town guards, then you can run down an alley and create a wall to cover your escape. If any of you have ever seen Full Metal Alchemist, literally anything that Edward Elric ever does in that show, you can basically do with Stone Shape. It's awesome.
I mean, I'm a fan.
Oh, you've watched that? Oh, okay.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
I mean,
great.
Brotherhood. I didn't watch the other.
Yeah, Brotherhood.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm unfortunately dropping Speak with Animals again.
Oh man, what? Poor Speak with Animals.
It's just
hot
coming
and
in
cold
and out, in
here.
and out. Yeah, it was the same with Mending earlier.
It's true.
But again, this is such a nice spell, we can get it back whenever we want. Right, 14th level. We get another ASI, I'm just bumping us up to 20 dex. And we also get Wild Shape up to CR1, and we can get a Fly Speed. Again, we want anything with an exoskeleton, a carapace, anything like that. So we're going to be looking at flies, we're going to be looking at beetles, we're going to be looking at moths, anything like that. If we really want to carry an ally, there is also the giant dragonfly, which is available from... I think it's one of the campaign books added that. It was... whatever that one in the Feywild was.
Oh, we're gonna get into giant dragonflies a lot on my build.
Giant dragonflies, really cool.
It's a really good creature.
Yeah. Yeah, we're up to 20 AC now. Just because we've bumped dex. We've got our carapace giving us 13 plus dex, plus our shield, puts us up to 20. That's absolutely great. I'm also picking up Fire Shield here. Now, I'm assuming that we're never using this in this build, but I just thought that this is a 10-minute duration non-concentration, one action cast. If we ever know that when we go through the doors there's going to be a boss fight, we can precast this and just have Fire Shield up for the entire fight. As I say, I'm assuming we're never using this, but this is just a good way to protect our temp HP.
Sure.
15th level. We are Spores 9, and we actually are upcasting our Dragon's Breath now to, what's that? It's 8th level, which actually puts us into white damage. That is 120% of the Advantage Crossbow Expert build. This is so much damage. It's really, really strong.
So 20% more or 120% more?
20% more, yes.
Okay.
So at this level, they are doing 52.98 damage every single round. We're doing 66.43 averaged over our 4-turn combat.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize those are the numbers there. Okay, cool.
Yeah. So from Spores Druid, we automatically get Cloud Kill and Contagion. Both of these are fairly mediocre. Contagion can actually be quite good, but they need to fail 3 Constitution saving throws in order to get the good effects. If they do, there's one effect, I think it's called like Slay Me Death or something like that, where every time they get hit by an attack, they get stunned. Just automatically. It's really, really good. Other stuff that I'm getting from Druid now are Anti-Life Shell. That's an insanely good, basically, this is a encounter stopper. It's such a good spell. If there's melee creatures, they just can't approach you. I'm dropping Warding Wind for that because I think that the party probably will have enough stuff to deal with ranged characters by now that it's not really necessary anymore. And I'm also picking up Greater Restoration just because, again, it's nice to have. 16th level. We now get Spreading Spores, which is a very, very sad feature. This is kind of terrible, to be honest. This is not a 10th level feature on Spores Druid, no. It's really bad. You basically get to create a perpetual AoE, which does your Halo of Spores damage, which is like 2d4, which it's so bad. And it's an action as well.
Yeah, I mean, Spores, we're all there for Symbiotic Entity anyway.
Yeah. What I am assuming, though, is we've now got 40 temp HP from Spores 10, so I am assuming that the Symbiotic Entity lasts for 3 rounds. So this is going to be Dragon's Breath on round 1, and then Symbiotic Entity on round 2, and it lasts for the rest of the fight, is what I'm assuming in these damage calcs.
Okay.
I'm also picking up Summon Draconic Spirit. This is an alternative for Dragon's Breath, just in case there's a reason why we don't want to be casting that, or our familiar goes down. This is a more defensive option. It also gives us a resistance to an elemental damage type. It's a good sort of tank, and it has decent damage as well. It's not quite as strong as Dragon's Breath, but it's pretty damn good.
I mean, yeah, y'all need to be shooting fire everywhere you go with these then.
Oh yeah, of course. Shooting fire as a weird mushroom insect is, yeah, I mean, Parasect famously really good against fire.
Yeah.
Right, 17th level, we're now a level 11 Spores Druid. I'm just picking up Hero's Feast here. Hero's Feast gives you a bit of extra max HP.
Good. Yep,
it's really good. It makes you immune to poison, it makes you immune to the Frightened condition. It's just a fantastic spell. So good.
Yeah, it's too bad it costs so much, but hopefully at this point it's not going to be a big deal.
Yeah. Nothing else going on at this level other than like Booming Blade. Scales again. We're doing even more damage than we were before. Yeah, this is... we're in the end game of this build, to be honest.
Yeah.
18th level, picking up Heal, just a good spell to have. I'm also picking up Lucky. we don't really need any other feats, so I'm just going for a nice generically good option. Other things that we could consider here are alert, we could consider tough. If we particularly want to boost our damage, the best thing is actually +2 int to make the DC on Dragon's Breath slightly higher. We could also get Dual Wielder is actually quite good on this build because it gives us +1 AC, putting us up to 21 on top of our shield, and it means that we can always use the rapier instead of having to switch to the scimitars, so it also boosts our damage a little bit, and that's actually a really, really nice option, which I did heavily consider.
What about fighting style, 2-weapon fighting?
Yes, so that is actually... bumping intelligence is the best damage option. Fighting style 2-weapon fighting is the second best damage option. Okay. I just like Dual Wielder more, just because it also boosts our AC.
Yeah, that's fair.
Right, 19th level, Animal Shapes. This is an ungodly good spell. Like, oh my word. This is basically every single ally. Doesn't matter whether they're a player character, we can target our familiar, we can target any zombies that we have from Animate Dead or Fungal Infestation, and we can just essentially cause them all to polymorph into a beast of CR 4 or lower every single turn. They get to refresh their entire HP pool every single turn. We can just have a rotating pile of animals just swarming whoever it is that we want them to attack. It's an insane spell. Like, I've got no idea how they decided that this was reasonable.
You don't hear a lot about it.
No, you don't, and it's really, really good. I think it's because it's only on Druid at very high levels, and at this level, like, you've typically got way better options in your control spells, but because I've got such terrible DCs at like 15, I don't want to pick any of those. So yeah, I'm just choosing Animal Shapes instead as a really nice option.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. And then finally, 20th level, with Spores 14, we get Fungal Body. What this says is that we're immune to a bunch of conditions, and also we're immune to critical hits. To be honest, this is kind of redundant a lot of the time with Lucky and with Hero's Feast. Those cover, like, I think it's 3 of the 5 things that Fungal Body gives you. So this, to be honest, we probably could have swapped out of Druid, but I just wanted to continue on because I like Animal Shapes, and there then wasn't much point in going into Wizard for 7th level Wizard, because that we can get Reverse Gravity instead. Reverse Gravity's amazing.
Yeah, and also, every level gives you more temp HP, so it's good.
Yeah, of course. Like, what are we on now? We're on, that is, 76 temp HP? Like,
crazy, honestly.
Yeah, it's crazy. This is lasting beyond the end of the combat, probably. So yeah, that is my build. We are, we are Big Anthony the Thrycreen. We're running around, we've got shields, we've got scimitars, we're just attacking people in the face, we're summoning a familiar that's breathing fire on people, we're turning into a big mushroom man. Loads of fun. For all of you at home, I've written up basically everything that I have here in more detail. I even go into like exactly what we're holding in all of our hands at several levels. And yeah, I've got loads of detail. This is all going to be in the description of the video. So what do you think?
I mean, I thought it was pretty funny. You went Bladesinger Spores. That's what I was talking about. But I'm glad I didn't, because this is a super fun build. I mean, Dragon's Breath on a familiar is super strong. Because the action economy is just so good.
Yeah, it's insane. It's ungodly powerful. It's
like, what percentage of your damage is coming from that.
Oh god, I would have to
your
go back
attacks,
into my massive
presumably.
damage calcs. I don't have that breakdown right now, but I think that, like, later on, it's a large proportion. I mean, Summon Draconic Spirit, once I got that, I think that this was coming up to, like, the high 50s in damage, which is still, like, really, really good. That's... It wouldn't be in the white 20% over the Crossbow Expert advantage, but it would still be, like, strong. Dragon's Breath itself, though, is probably at least half of the damage here.
Wow, so you really got to keep that guy alive.
Yeah, you do. As I said, I was heavily considering getting Mage Armor just to put on the Familiar. You can do other stuff as well. You can you can have it fly out of range. You can have it fly into your bag. There's a variety of things that you could pick up to cast on it. The main game of this build is the main game of this build is finding ways to protect your Familiar, which, I mean, Familiars are so good.
Familiars are honestly too good.
They are. They kind of are.
Yeah, I mean, like, what level 1 spell is this equivalent to? Nothing. No, it's not even close.
No, it's not.
It's ridiculous. Yeah. But
you
can Silvery Barbs an attack against it too, as long as it's within.
Yeah, you can Silvery
Barbs
to protect it. Yeah, that's the thing you can do. If you really like need to get it out of there, you can use your action to put it into a pocket dimension, and then bring it back on the next turn.
I mean, yeah, like if it's getting targeted by attacks, I mean, it's probably going to be one hit and it's gone. At a higher level.
Yeah.
So I guess if you know it's going to happen, you can pop it out, I guess.
Yeah. But yeah, no, there's loads of fun stuff here. I think we've got all of the cool buff options as well, with all these warding winds and these flies and all these.
Yeah, it's overall a super like fun. It'll be fun to play. It's a well-rounded character, and I think so. I've always kind of disliked Druid, honestly, because I don't really enjoy their spell list.
So
but you brought up a lot of good options that I like hadn't really thought about. So it's good.
Yeah, I used to be in a fairly similar position. I kind of don't really like Wild Shape. One of my main things for 1D&D was I was hoping that they would remove a lot of the Wild Shape stuff and make that into just like the thing that the Moon Druid does, and then give other druids other stuff that they can do. So, Druid used to be my least favourite class, but over the last like year or so, I've kind of grown to like it a lot more than I used to.
Okay, that's good. I think it's still on my bottom, but hopefully I can turn that around.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Well, that's super cool. Big Anthony. That's
Anthony.
That's a fun build, and you put a lot of detail into all your stuff there with the what you're holding and everything.
Yeah, thank you.
But so the main reason you're 3 keen is that you want a shield and 2 weapon fighting.
Yeah,
at the same time.
I want a shield. It's so the AC that Thrycreen gives you is insane, and also this telepathy stuff with the comprehend languages. That's also a really, really nice thing, just in a utility aspect.
That's true. But I mean, like, druids wear armor, so you could just do that instead of Carapace, right?
Yeah, it wouldn't get you quite as high on AC, but yeah, you could.
Yeah, I guess, but you get medium armor. So I guess it depends on how strongly you follow the they don't wear metal and what you consider metal.
Yeah.
Could you make scale mail out of scales or something? Yeah.
Yeah, of course. No, I mean, I personally ignore that in my games, but other people don't. So yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's Big Anthony. For any of you watching this, there is going to be some kind of poll in the description. You can either vote for my build, or you can vote for DndUnoptimised build, which we're going to look at next. His video is going to be popping up right now. You should be able to see it, or it will be in the description. I recommend going and watching it because, I mean, I've not seen what he's built yet, but it's probably going to be cool.
Well, hopefully.
I've now seen the build made by DndUnoptimised, and it's super cool. He's made a really interesting character who primarily focuses on battlefield control using wall spells, but in a super cool way that I don't think I've seen before. I definitely recommend giving it a watch. Afterwards, there's a Google poll in the video description which you can use to vote on your favourite build. It's going to be open for about a week after this video releases, and then I'll make a community post revealing the results. Please tell me what you thought of this in the comments, and also tell me if you want to see more Battle of the Builds. I really enjoyed making this, and I feel like I could do quite a few more. Don't forget to subscribe as well. Bye!